Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow morning. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. If you're joining us live, drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves. And if you're watching the recording, drop a two in the comments. My guest for this week is Mohamed Zayne Nabbee, Group Financial Manager at Creative CFO, Executive Director at Billdozer, and former Regional Vice President for CIMA in the Western Cape region. Zayne, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Wes. Thanks for having me. And hi to everyone. It's really good to be here.
Let's jump straight into the meat of it. Thanks so much.
Cool, let's do it.
Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Mohamed Zayne Nabbee? Give us that backstory.
Oh, that's a very loaded question. So I'll take you right back to the start. Originally born in Durban, spent about 5 years there. I think I've still got a little bit of an accent, although I don't know why. Then spent my whole life in Joburg and moved to Cape Town I think it's about 8 years ago. Like everything men do for a woman. Moved when I got just before I got married, and then got married and been here ever since. Apart from a career perspective, I think I started my career fairly early. I did university full time for about a year and played too much, and then moved to SARS. Ironically, my mum called around and got me a job at SARS. I worked in SARS for 2 years in retirement funds tax. It's a dead tax now, but it was really big back in the day. And worked in SARS for two and a half years, and then decided to do my articles, psycho articles. Went ahead, did my articles for a very small firm, in one partner firm in Midrand, Johannesburg. That was 5 years I was there, and then left that to go to Deloitte. I spent about two years in Deloitte in the municipal consulting space, and then left Deloitte and joined a small company and subcontracted to Deloitte. We just tried to get around the red tape of it, and was there for about another year and a half. And that was in financial municipal consulting, and then moved from there to ACES in financial management and in their financial division, and was at ACES for about, I think, 18 months, and then moved over to Creative CFO. So pretty full spectrum, and only recently joined on from a Billdozer perspective, and then from a kind of CIMA. Always really tried to be involved, but so there was a need before when we had the older structures, and saw an opportunity and really took it, and loved the time spent in CIMA. And then from a personal perspective, have a wife and now 3 kids. My latest is 5 months old, so they keep me busy. And yeah, love life, love getting out, love doing things. Really need the gym, I would say, more than love the gym. I think I need an hour a day to just kind of take my brain out of everything and kind of get down to it. So I try and go to gym as often as I possibly can. My wife says too often, but yeah. Apart from that, that's almost me in a nutshell.
I need to figure out how you like the gym, because I enjoy running, but I've got a running injury and I just can't get to the gym. It's just like, no, I need to find the motivation.
I'm the opposite. Like, I hate running. I'm allergic to it.
You mentioned now, you're group financial manager at one company, executive director of another company, treasurer of a nonprofit. How do you manage all these roles at the same time?
I don't know. I really, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I really love everything I do, and I try and do it as passionately as I possibly can. And I kind of try and keep my head focused on the prize rather than focused on time, even though it's really important for me to like subdivide my time, which I don't do well. I think I'll be the first to admit that. But I try and keep my focus on the prize, try and focus on the output, and try and see how I can get that done. And sometimes I can get it done a little quicker and then move on and do what I need to do. But sometimes it takes a bit longer. But I think when it does take a bit longer, I'm kind of focused on the fact that I really enjoy it and I'm passionate about it, and time doesn't end for me at 5. So I kind of fit it in when I can, and yeah.
I was about to say I'm waiting for the tip, and then the tip came at the end. But we'll get there. We'll get there. You mentioned you worked at Deloitte, you worked at Oasis, so you worked at SARS, so you worked for a few corporates, and now you're working with startups and SMEs. What's the difference in how you support the two different kinds of organizations?
I kind of I find it so like that it's very difficult to answer that question because they're so different and also so much the same. I feel that ironically, I might be controversially saying this. I feel like SMEs have bigger problems because in SMEs you focused on the big stuff because they're starting out. So you're really focused on like revenue and the business and the core and the vision and the mission. But when it comes to a corporate, you're focused on really, really small, minute details because they've kind of taken care of the revenue and the expenses, and the machine runs. So regardless of where you are as this cog in that machine, it's going to run, and you kind of need to give the best value that you can to that division or small piece that you are in control of. So yeah, I think it's about trying to add the most value where you can, and for me, just solve problems. Try and address what problem you're solving at the given point and work towards solving it
I like why you
passionately.
put it there. In a corporate, the machine runs with or without you, and in a SME, if you don't run, the business doesn't run. So the machine doesn't
It
run. So
stops.
that's a
It
good way of
stops.
putting it. So for the audience,
Hmm.
if you've got any questions for Zayne, please add them to the comment section. We'll answer all the comments towards the end.
Hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about the CIMA qualification. Most of us know about the CASA. I mean, you mentioned you did your articles. Some of us know about the professional accountant designation.
Hmm.
CIMA, I heard a bit about it in varsity, and now and then I hear about it. How is it different, and why would someone want to choose CIMA as opposed to the other options?
I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of comparisons in the sense of I think everything has its unique place. I think what drew me to SEMA was the more it almost feels slightly far removed, and maybe I'm gonna get flack for a little more business holistic than all technical. There are technical elements, but a lot of it is kind of very much a step back overall view because we touch on many elements. And obviously management accounting is slightly different to financial accounting, to auditing, to everything there. So there's a lot of focus on obviously those management accounting elements, but there's also a lot of focus like Psycho on ethics and the like, as well as valuations, as well as it kind of touches on everything. And yes, there are similarities I think throughout those all of those professional bodies. But I think what I liked about SEMA was that it was looking at the problems facing business, not necessarily just the financial problems facing business. There's a couple of other elements of it that we were looking at rather than just looking at it from a um, almost a technical perspective, even though the technical perspective is really important and we kind of build on that. But the teachings that SEMA gave me was really great around that kind of when you're in a business there are other moving parts, and what do you do in those other moving parts to address kind of everything holistically. Yeah.
And do you get different types of qualifications through CIMA? Because I see there's people with different titles. I see CGMA and I think it's ACMA, and I'm not too sure what the difference is. I don't know if you can enlighten
It's
us.
it's very British. So similar to ACCA, you get a FCCA, and in SEMA you get a FCMA, which is it's so I don't exactly know how to explain it in that they would be happy with, but it's the difference is you become an associate when you first qualify, and as you mature in your designation, you can therefore become a fellow. And a fellow is obviously a higher designation than an associate. It's a more experienced designation. It's basically saying that when you first qualify, you're not necessarily an expert on many things. You've qualified, you at an advanced level, you know what you're doing, but you're not an expert. And then what CIMA does is they reassess your experience later on in your career and designate you as a fellow.
Does that mean you have to take another exam, or do they just assess
No, you just it's just a experience assessment.
Okay, that's interesting. I had no idea
that you have to
that's
opt
something
for.
new.
So yeah, it's as I understand, it's kind of a British thing that they do. So yeah.
Okay. And if someone wanted to find out more about CIMA, where's the best place to find out more information, if they, especially from South Africa, and how active is the South African branch of CIMA?
Ironically, something I learned was that the South African branch was the first branch outside the UK in the whole world. So it's really active. South Africa's got a very big CIMA presence. CIMA Global is an amazing source of information. You can go onto CIMA Global, Google CIMA. There's a lot of also education institutions that can give you information, but CIMA Global, and if you go into CIMA Global and get the contact details of the South African office, there's a lot of people in the South African office that are willing to help and always willing to kind of walk you through. I think there's a lot of CIMA kind of, I won't say mentors, but kind of people with hold the CIMA designation, me being one of them, would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. You can drop me a LinkedIn kind of message or anything, kind of get in contact, and I'm happy to try and help where I can. I also work with a lot with the Creative CFO CIMA program internally. Head that up as well.
And then in terms of, I see you're a former regional VP of CIMA in the Western Cape region. What sort of work were you doing there?
So that was a lot of how do we connect with the membership base and the incoming membership base? How do we arrange network events? What do we do to connect with CIMAs that are around? And I think that's a lot of the work that we're doing, is trying to provide as much value to the CIMA member or CIMA student. They kind of seen in different light, but they're still part of CIMA. And how much value can we bring to them throughout the year? And that's really what we used to kind of focus on in our meetings, and really, for the most part, events, networking events, kind of informational events, CPD events. But that's pretty much what we were doing.
And are you still involved in the
not anymore
events or the regional basis at all?
Not anymore. They rejigged everything when it came to COVID and kind of amalgamated and went more continental, if you want to put it that way. They have an Africa branch now, and there's a few members on there. So I haven't seen anything come across. So no, not involved at all anymore. But try and get information where I can, and try and still be an advocate for the brand as far as I can.
Okay. Seems like you're answering all the questions, because there's no questions coming through yet. So if anybody has a question, now's the time to get it in there before we move on. But we mentioned that in terms of your journey, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
I think looking back, the important piece of advice, and I'm almost going to steal a little bit from Steve Jobs in his address, is that you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect them moving back. So sometimes you try and almost understand what does this mean in the big picture, and you can't, and you get stressed out, and you think that it's gonna, everything either means nothing or it has to mean something, and you're trying to do that looking forward, and kind of never works, and it's weird. And that's one piece of advice would be, is just get on with it. Trying to have faith in what you're doing, have faith in the fact that you are moving forward, even though sometimes it seems like you aren't. And there's no necessary need to be as ambitious or think that you're gonna kind of be impatient. I'm a very impatient person, so try and almost be impatient with everything. Patience has really been great and really showed me in life that there's a plan. Even though you're not necessarily in control of the plan, there is a plan, and it's going to come to fruition one day. You almost just need to really work hard, really have faith, and kind of know that it's not a race. walk the road, and you'll get where you're going as long as you do everything you need to do.
I think that's a good something to lead towards. Tell me any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know.
Apart from, like, I think that it's just to my previous point, like, careers are funny. I think that we have this impression that there's people are not human by virtue of careers, and I think that the one message I'd like to get across is the fact that everyone's kind of human, no matter what position you hold, no matter where you are. You kind of just a person, and everyone's really approachable, and you can kind of do whatever you want to do, and confidence is really, really important. And I think what the reason we lack confidence is we almost try and place people on these, unattainable goals. And I think it's important that we know that everything's attainable as long as we don't think it's unattainable. You kind of need to fuel your own fire, and you can't get anywhere. I think that's my, if there's a parting message, that would be it.
No, that's so true, because sometimes, especially when you're young and you're working and you've got these bosses and you put them on a pedestal, they know everything. And then you realize they're just people too. They make mistakes as well. They're not perfect. They don't have all the information, but they make decisions with what, and they beat you with experience.
Exactly, and it's about that, like, faith, and have that experience and walk the road, and yeah.
I think that's a great way to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Zayne, thank you so much for your time.
Always, thanks so much for your time, and thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.